Welcome to the Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast with your hosts, Mike Randle and Gus Kearns.
I've been riveted to The Last Dance, the 10-part documentary on Michael Jordan and the Bulls' last championship in 1998. And my son has loved it as well. He loves the music and he dribbles around the house and takes crazy shots. And as a family, we've embraced The Last Dance. But the best part about it is the last segment where Michael Jordan, with the music coming on in the background, talks about how his career and the Bulls' dominance in the 90s with 6 titles started with hope. It started with hope. And that word is something that we mention here on the Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast all the time. Gus and I talk about teams, particularly small school teams, that start their season with hope. Visions of winning the regular season, winning the conference tournament, making the NCAA tournament, and then pulling an upset. It starts with hope. So naturally, we are drawn to those small school teams that excel. It's the David Goliath syndrome. And today on the Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast, we have 2 head coaches of small school powerhouses this past year and the last few years as well. Hofstra head coach Joe Mihalich and Vermont head coach John Becker. We talked to both of them about their program, about their amazing season, how they're handling the pandemic and recruiting, and their thoughts for next year. Both of them have tremendous hope for next year. Coach Mihalick with Hofstra has been there 7 years. This will be his 8th. His last 2 years, 27-8, 26-8. Last year, Hofstra wins the regular season in the CAA, but loses, is upset by Northeastern, and doesn't make the NCAA tournament. They don't have Justin Wright Foreman this year, the 2-time CAA Player of the Year. But they have hope. They had a solid group of players coming back, Desor Bowie, Eli Pemberton, and they made it back again, against Northeastern again, but this time they would not be denied, and they clinched the bid from the CAA after winning the CAA conference tournament to make the NCAA tournament, which didn't happen. And our second coach, Vermont head coach John Becker, who finished his 9th year for the Catamounts. Over the last 4 years, here's Vermont's record: 29-6, 27-8, 27-7, 26-7. They have just five regular season losses in the America East Conference in the last 4 years. Gus talked to Jake Marsh about that, and I brought that up to Coach Becker. He loses Anthony Lamb, one of the generational players in Vermont history this year, who followed in the footsteps of Trey Bell Haynes, both of which were 2-time Conference Players of the Year. But he returns his entire backcourt, and he has hope and is very positive for next year as well. So as we try to make a negative, which is the culture we're in right now, into a positive, Gus and I have continued with our season review series. We will continue talking to beat reporters, but now we're also talking to coaches. And we've had both of these coaches on the podcast before, and they were kind enough to come back now and talk about their teams. So let's get to the 2 interviews back to back. First, Hofstra head coach Joe Mihalich, and then Vermont head coach John Becker. The Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast rolls on as we continue to fill your passion for college hoops talk. Let's get to 2 of the best coaches in the country and talk about their programs. We're pleased to welcome back on the Screen the Screener College Basketball Podcast head coach Joe Mihalich of the Hofstra Pride. We had Coach on last year, an even better season this year. He's done an amazing job with the Hofstra Pride, so we're thrilled to have him back here on the podcast for a few minutes to talk about last year, talk about where we're at right now, and preview next year. Coach, thanks so much for joining us today. How you doing?
Well, thanks for having me on. It's great. You guys do a great job. It's fun to be a part of what you guys do, so thanks for having me on.
Oh, anytime. And listen, last year, Coach, you guys got to the finals 2 years ago, lost a really tough game in the finals, and then you come back this year. And it's funny because you were picked in the preseason to be the CAA champion, but I'm sure coming back, you had to get the mindset right and try to get over that hurdle as you entered the season. It really was a fantastic year for you in the Hofstra Pride.
Yeah, we it was our battle cry all year long that, we came up one game short. I mean, 2 years ago we had such a great year, won 27 games, set the school record for wins, but we didn't win that championship game. And again, it was our battle cry all year long. We came up one game short. Let's see what we can do this year. And, getting picked first is not what you want. You want to get picked last and then finish first.
Yeah.
But, hey, it's predictions are, you either prove people right or you prove them wrong. So our job was to prove everybody right and try to finish first.
Well, you've been there 7 years and you've done a fantastic job. I'm curious, when the year started off for you this year, you had a loss there to San Jose State, then you beat Monmouth, then you lost to Bucknell. So sort of back and forth a little bit early on. But I remember watching when you beat UCLA on November 21st at UCLA. Early on, people weren't sure how Mick Cronin's team was going to be, but they really came on strong at the end. I would think in the early part of the season, that was a huge win for you.
We did talk about that a lot. I mean, it was one of those things where you say, hey, remember when we got on the bus coming home from Bucknell and we were 1-2 and we were staring at 3 games in California with one of them being UCLA. It was like, wow, this is going to be this is going to tell us what we're all about. And it ended up doing that. And it ended up did tell us what we're all about. Our guys, led by DeJure Bowie and Elijah Pemberton, 2 incredible seniors, they just showed what they're all about. I mean, to beat UCLA at UCLA in the famed Pauley Pavilion was thrilling. I mean, it was an epic win for Hofstra University and for those kids. And 20 years from now, they're going to talk about beating UCLA at UCLA, and that was kind of the springboard win, the springboard trip, that trip to California, where when we came back from that trip, I think we knew we could win our league.
Talk about Bowie and Pemberton, 2 of your seniors there. Bowie had 29 points. He was perfect from the free throw line in that game, hit a couple threes. As a team coach, of course, you shot the three well. You were 12 of 24 at UCLA that game. So big game from those two, as well as Jalen Ray, who had 27 points.
Yeah, DeJure was terrific that game. I mean, I think that was, if you want to single one guy out as opposed to a bunch of them, that was a game where he proved he was going to have a player of the year kind of year. And, in our opinion, he was the player of the year in our conference. Somebody else won the award, but, DeJure was the guy that made his team finish first and made his team win a championship. So, and that was probably the game where he proved to himself and his teammates that we could be a good team, and he was going to make sure that we win a lot of games. And you mentioned Jalen Ray. Jalen he's a terrific player as well, and for him, that was the one where in the beginning of the year, everybody was like, "What about Justin Wright Foreman? He's gone. How are you going to replace him? What about Jerry?" There were so many questions about Justin Wright Foreman, rightfully so. Such a great player, and it was a great question. How are we going to replace him? Well, in that UCLA game, we showed how we would replace him. DeJure was going to be better. And Jalen Ray was going to be pretty good too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Wright Foreman, the 2-time CAA Player of the Year, but you have a strong group of players that came back this year, and you got on a roll there in December. Won 5 games in a row. Then you had the tough game at home against William & Mary. Really good William & Mary team with 2 players, NBA type prospects as well. And then after that, Elon, Northeastern, UNC Wilmington. So things really got rolling there. And you had a little payback coming for William & Mary. I've noticed through your schedule that when you guys stumbled, had a tough loss there, you were able to bounce back. Charleston as well, Delaware. So really, I wonder if that was sort of a mantra of you guys. You were at the top of the conference there. Everyone was gunning for you, of course. And if somebody got you early, it seemed like when you played the second time, you were really ready to go.
Yeah, I think that's the mark of a true competitor, the mark of a winner, the mark of a champion. I mean, we're all enthralled with watching them. I'm sure yourself as well, watching The Last Dance on Sunday nights and watching Michael Jordan. And, that one scene where I guess it was LaBradford Smith had a good game against him on a Friday night. Kid gets 37. And the next night, Michael Jordan said, "That's never going to happen again. I'm not going to get outplayed by LaBradford Smith." And he goes out and gets 36 in the first half. So, I mean, our guys, what's the old expression, show me a good loser, I'll show you a loser.
Mm-hmm.
And our guys don't like losing. When Delaware beats us, we want to get them back. When Charleston beats us, we want to get them back. And when William & Mary beats us, we want to get them back. And that's the way it should be.
Coach, I want to talk about the CAA championship game. Got to watch that one from start to finish. We were rooting for you guys. We're here in Jersey. Of course, you guys on Long Island. And it's Northeastern, right? So here comes Northeastern, who knocked you out in the prior year in the championship game. And that was a back-and-forth game with a very tough group. But as you pulled away at the end, a lot of emotion there with the players and you. It was real exciting to see. It was like you weren't going to be denied in that championship game. You had a second crack at it.
Well, I got to be honest with you. It was a knockdown, drag-out fight. I don't know. So many people said, "When did you feel like you had it won?" And they had a show. We had Hofstra had a showing, a watch party a couple of weeks ago where we watched the game again. It was fun. And my wife Mary and I were watching it, and she was like, "You know what? It wasn't until here that I was pretty sure you guys were going to win." And there was 42 seconds on the clock. So it was a heck of a game, and our guys had a lot of chances to lose, and they just wouldn't let it happen. They just, again, DeJour Bowie, Elijah Pemberton, Jalen Ray making those big threes, Isaac Conti getting every rebound. We just weren't going to be denied, and those were, you talk about memories of a lifetime. Forever and ever and ever, we'll remember, all of us on that team and Hofstra University will remember that game.
I'll tell you, when I was watching you, because I know, of course, you're going to play to the end. You're not going to take anything for granted. The moment that I knew is when you had that big hug. I think it was with Bowie. When you had the big hug, that's when I saw you say, "Let go." It was great. It was a wonderful, wonderful win.
Yeah, it was magical, just magical.
So we look to next year. So talk about, you're losing some players here, some great leaders as well. Talk about your players that are leaving and the veterans that are returning as well before we get to some of the incoming players. Talk about how you take a great season like this. It was cut short, of course, things that are out of your control. I saw you interviewed, said something like 42 hours, 45 hours later, the season. Yeah. But a great year for Hofstra. So talk about what you're losing and then the veterans coming back here. You're going to keep that foundation moving forward.
Yeah, we're going to lose two special guys, not just players. I mean, DeJour Bowie and Elijah Pemberton were total package guys. I mean, great players, great people, did a great job in the classroom and in the community, just total package guys. And, it's hard to ask somebody, whether it's an incoming player or a returning player, to be the next DeJour Bowie, to be the next Elijah Pemberton. We didn't ask anybody this year to be the next Justin Wright Foreman. We just said, you got to be yourself. So, we're going to miss the heck out of those two guys, but we feel great about our three returning starters is where it all begins. Jalen Ray, we've talked about him, Tariq Coburn, and Isaac Conti. With those three guys, we feel like we have a nucleus that, with the pieces that we can add to it, we feel like we have a nucleus that's going to, give us a chance to win this league again.
Absolutely. And Conte, you talked about it, 7.7 rebounds, 11 points, just really played a critical role inside for your team with so much talent out there. A lot of teams going to the 4-out, 1-in, a lot of the guards, the three-point shooting, and your three-point shooting was off the charts, 37.5% as a team, 4 players rather, that are 38% or higher. So I would think Conte can really take a step forward.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. He just kept getting better and better and better with each game, leading right up to the championship game. I think he had a double-double. I think he had close to 15 rebounds that night and 13 points, and he was a real force inside. Northeastern really didn't have an answer for him around the basket. In that game right there, I think it'll propel him into a great college career the rest of the way. He's got 2 more years to go. Again, a beautiful kid, wonderful kid, wants to be good so badly. And, he's got some confidence now to take it to the next step.
Yeah, and I'm curious, of course, with everything going on with COVID, how the recruiting is going. So how are you recruiting given this crazy situation? Obviously, you guys get great players that are coming in. Talk about the players coming in and how the process has gone for you here, which is really unique for all coaches across the country. Yeah,
to say that it's been different is an understatement. So we signed two guys early, Zion Bethea from New Jersey, and David Green from Orlando, Florida, two guys that we think are going to really help us right away. And then we had done a pretty good job all through the year on the other two players that we signed. Sean Darius Cowart, his nickname is Elmo Cowart. He's a point guard and a terrific player. And Vukasin Masic, who's a Serbian player who played at a prep school in upstate New York, Husak. Those four guys we think are going to help us right away. I hate to put too much pressure on guys. I hate to oversell them. It's hard enough to be a freshman and to make that transition. But at the same time, we are excited about those guys, and we think they're going to help us right away.
And, Coach, as you're entering here into your 8th year at Hofstra, what's their schedule like next year moving forward? You showed a lot, going to play your tough teams, going out to UCLA, of course. I mean, that just shows it all right there. Talk about, the games and some of your tournaments that you have coming up next year that you have lined up, besides, of course, a very difficult conference schedule.
Yeah, we try to, I always say with your non-conference schedule, you want to sharpen your teeth for conference play, and you want to, like we did last year, you just mentioned it, play in a tournament, and, we're going to play in a tournament next year where we're going to play a bunch of mid-majors. We'll play Southern Illinois, who's a very good team out of the Missouri Valley Conference. We'll play Air Force out of Mountain West. We'll play Florida Atlantic out of Conference USA. So that tournament will be great. We're going to go to LSU. We're going to play them down there. We're going to play LSU at LSU. That'll somewhat be like the UCLA game this year. We're going to play Richmond at Richmond. Richmond is also a really, really good team.
That's a great battle, Coach. That's going to be a great one. Yeah.
And then, of course, you throw Princeton and Stony Brook and, all these other games. It'll be, Monmouth. It'll be similar to last year where we'll have a lot of coin toss games and a lot of real challenges, and that's how you get yourselves ready for league play.
Absolutely. And Coach, since you've come here to Hofstra, what was sort of your strategy coming over from Niagara? You come to Hofstra. Did you have a plan? Was it a 5-year plan? Because now back-to-back seasons, 27-8, 26-8, CAA regular season title, CAA conference tournament title. How did you envision this when you came over? Did you envision this right away, or were you pretty much, listen, year to year, this is what we're going to do, build our foundation, and then we're going to try to get there?
Well, listen, as I said back during the interview process when I was talking with the people, the great people here at Hofstra, I said, listen, here's our goal, that every year when it gets to the end of February, the beginning of March, that we'll have a team that's going to have a chance to win the conference tournament. It's a one-bid league, and we know that. Everybody knows that. And so that's the goal, is to every year have a chance, when you head down to your conference tournament, have a chance to win it. And, 3 of the last 5 years we've been in the championship game, which is an awfully hard thing to do. But we did that, and we were able to win it once. We came up short the other 2 times, but getting there is something to be proud of. And that's what I think I'm most proud of, is that we are a team that every year people talk about, and we talk about winning a championship. We don't talk about trying to get out of the basement, trying to be in the middle of the pack, trying to be 500. We talk about trying to win championships. And at this level, I think that's what you should be doing.
Absolutely. Coach, we really appreciate a few minutes. Folks, Coach Joe Mihalich from the Hofstra Pride, amazing season, doing a great job. Reloading every year is what the Pride does out on Long Island. And we're real thrilled to join us for a few minutes. Congratulations, Coach, on a great season. We're rooting for you, looking forward to next year. And we know you're going to get rolling again, because that's what you do here. So thanks so much, and congratulations. Really great job.
Thanks for having me. I always like being with you, and call me anytime. This is fun. Appreciate it.
You got it. Go get it.
Good luck. Everybody's got to be safe and be healthy now, and listen to our government people and our doctors and medical people, right?
Absolutely, so, and we'll get through it. And I know we'll be watching some basketball, which will be a welcome sight after we lose, everything this year for sure.
We can't wait. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Coach. Right, take care. Thank you. The Screen the Screener season review series rolls on, and we head up to Burlington, Vermont to talk Vermont Catamounts basketball with none other than the head coach, John Becker. Coach Becker has joined us before, and he had a fantastic season yet again this year, one of the best ever for Vermont, and he joins us here on the Screen the Screener podcast for a few minutes. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Hanging in there. We're doing okay. And listen, Coach, we've loved your program. You've done such an outstanding job up there in Vermont. And this year, of course, maybe one of the best seasons you've ever had. 26-7 overall when the season ended, 14-2 in the regular season, won the America East regular season, and we're on your way to the conference there, kind of the conference tournament title. How did you feel coming into the year? Obviously, a lot of players coming back, including some top players. How did you feel coming into the season? Did you feel confident? And how did it go there, in the preseason as you got ready for 2019-2020 year?
Yeah, no, I really liked the team. We were losing Ernie Duncan, which was a big piece to our championship team the previous year, but really liked the team. Obviously, with Anthony Lamb kind of leading the way, and we got a big transfer from Alabama in the summer before the year, Daniel Giddens. So I liked the versatility of our team coming into the year, and certainly we put together a really challenging non-conference schedule. And I thought we had some ups and downs in the preseason. We did end up beating St. John's, which was our first Power 5 win. And first time we beat a Big East team. And so that was really cool, and played Virginia really tough a couple days later. And certainly had some really good moments in the non-conference, and then some games, a little streak there when we were at Yale and at Cincinnati, two really good teams, where we kind of lost our way, I thought, a little bit. And Anthony was getting a lot of media coverage, NBA talk and such. And so I thought for a little while there, we lost our identity a little bit and hit a little tough patch. But by the time we got to conference play, played really well. And the conference this year was really, really good. I mean, the parity was good, and teams have gotten better. And to win the league, the regular season, by 4 games, I thought was really, really a big accomplishment, with how good our league was this year. So, and then going to the conference tournament, unfortunately, we shut down before the championship game, but, beat a really good, an improving Maine team in the first round. And UMBC, who's been kind of our rival the last couple of years, and who we've seen in the championship game the last couple of years, beat them in the semis, and we're scheduled to play Hartford for the championship at home. So, I thought it was a really good year. And I thought, our seniors, unfortunately didn't go out the way I guess they could have. But I do think they were playing really, really well, all of them, at the end of the year, and kind of, went out as well as could be expected, given the circumstances.
Coach, you talked about the non-conference, and over the last few years, you guys have had a very strong non-conference schedule. We've made the comparison for Vermont very much to Gonzaga in terms of you've been a tremendous program on the East Coast. You battle everyone, you play everyone, and you mentioned your non-conference schedule. I mean, start off with 2 tough road wins, St. Bonaventure, Bucknell. We watched that St. John's game from beginning to end, just a fantastic win there on the road. Then you went down to Virginia, always tough. You battled them, 6-point loss there. And Yale, Cincinnati. I remember seeing the Cincinnati game, and you guys were down big in that game, and you battled back despite the fact that you were down. I think that said a lot about your team, that even with a difficult, really tough non-conference schedule where you had consistent opponents from larger conferences, you guys fought the whole way through. I think that probably set you up for you playing your best basketball at the end of the year.
Yeah, I agree. And that Cincinnati game, we played without Benny Shungu. We basically played the whole non-conference schedule without Benny Shungu, our starting point guard. And then in that Cincinnati game, Daniel Giddens also goes down, our 6'11" center, who, really, we brought for these type of games. He was a high major player. And so, coming off a really bad Yale loss, again, not bad because Yale's really good, but just the way we played wasn't up to our standards. And that was it was hard on them that week, and Cincinnati was really good. And, we were undermanned and undersized, and I agree, we got down big. And then we fought back, and despite that loss, I felt really good with our effort, especially Anthony Lamb just played so hard that game and had to play basically the whole game and battle some big guys. And I think after that we kind of started to turn the corner and, started to play better. And like you said, basically for the rest of the year, we really played pretty well.
Coach, I had a chance to talk to Jake Marsh as well, and we were talking about your program. And over the last 4 years, and I know a humble, great coach like yourself probably doesn't think of these things, but 5 conference losses in the last 4 years for your program. And if you look at the wins, 29, 27, 27, 26, what are your foundational beliefs as a program? Is there a certain type of characteristic for the players that you look for, or have they just come in with different mindsets and they've all bought in?
That's a good question. And I think the one thing that attracts guys to our program is winning, and I think that's basically what we talk about in championships. Winning in championships is what we talk about, and the sacrifices that, we know the sacrifices that you need to make. And so we've been fortunate to find kids that are really attracted to that and want to know and want to be part of a winning culture and a winning team. And so the buy-in, is almost immediate. It's and as every year that goes by, and I guess I establish myself and we establish ourselves, it doesn't take long for that buy-in. And the other thing that's really, I'm really proud of, I was thinking about just the other day, is just we have 4-year players here, which is really nice. Just the leadership from within, and when guys become seniors, they just understand how to lead and what their responsibility is, because so much of what happens to a team, to great teams, happens away from the coaches, outside of basketball, happens at their house, or when they get together, and the standard that they're all holding themselves to, and I just we lost great leaders, and that, Ernie Duncan a few years ago, really started a lot of this with Trey Bell Haynes, whenever he got here 6-7 years ago. And it's been passed on. And now, like Steph's, we lost Everett Duncan this year, along with Anthony. And now Steph Smith is a senior and stepping into a leadership role. And just seeing how he is reaching out to his teammates, making himself available, developing has those relationships, but really taking the responsibility of what the guys before him, kind of how they led and the way they did things, and the responsibility, and understanding that it's going to be school, basketball, and his teammates. I mean, those are the 3 things that that leaders focus on, and it's really, for me, really interesting to see how these quiet freshmen come in, and then by the time they're seniors, they without even having to be asked, just take the mantle and become leaders. And I think that's been a big part of our success. And but I think the winning is what attracts them, and we've been fortunate to because here we don't have all the bells and whistles. We're pretty far north, and so you're not going to get spoiled here, so to speak. There's a lot of guys that we've been able to find that are really don't care about that stuff, and just want to be part of a winning program. And we haven't been hit by the transfer bug, and again, I think that speaks to the experience our guys are having. Certainly winning helps, but they're not looking around. They're having the experience they want here, and winning a lot of games, and playing in championship games, and playing in NCAA tournament. So yeah, it's really exciting.
That's exactly what it means. And you said passing the mantle. That was my next question. So last 4 years, America East Player of the Year, Trey Bell Haynes twice, and now Anthony Lamb. Talk about what Lamb has meant to the program. So many big moments, great team player, and he had a knack, Coach. We just got done watching The Last Dance. Lamb has that knack for the end-of-game heroics, hit the big shot against St. John's there on the road for the win.
Yeah, he's meant so much to his program, and an incredible player. But his work ethic, his caring, his commitment to his teammates, his commitment to the program, was incredible. And he just gave us everything he had for 4 years. You can't replace him, but the way he went about his work, the way he cared about his teammates, the way he led, that legacy will live on. And we'll, the freshmen on this year's team, they'll carry, in 4 years, Aaron Deloney will be the leader of this team. And the things that he watched and saw with Anthony, he'll continue to pass on to the next generation, I guess. And so, and Anthony learned that from Trey Bell Haynes and Peyton Henson and Kurt Steidel and all those guys. And so, you were never going to be able to replace an Anthony Lamb. I'll probably never get a player of that caliber again. But what he's meant to us will kind of live on and continue. And, he's going to do great things. And you're right. When I watched that Last Dance documentary, obviously never comparing anyone to Michael Jordan, but there are some similarities and guys at that level are just different, just wired different. And Anthony's certainly, wired differently and was really a pleasure to coach for the last 4 years.
So as we look to next year, before we get to the new players, like you said, Daniel Giddens did a great job as a transfer. Everett Duncan, Anthony Lamb, they move on. But you do, Coach, return a solid nucleus, especially your entire backcourt of Steph Smith and Ben Shungu. So talk about your veterans returning as you get ready for next year.
Yeah, it starts there, with Benny and Steph. I think Steph's had a great year, first team all league last year. And, I think he's going to have a great senior year. He's really, like I said, gotten off to a great start here, despite the circumstances, of becoming a leader and taking on that role. And I think he'll have a great year. And Benny, defensive player of the year. And it's just, went from he's a local kid that was a walk-on to becoming a really, really, really good college basketball player. It's exciting for this community, to have one of their own kind of doing it up at Patrick Gym. So he's been really good. Bailey Batella returns also in the backcourt, and I thought he made a huge jump this year. And again, I think he's going to have his best year as a senior, and he'll get more opportunities this year with Everett graduating. And then Justin Missoula, mid-year transfer from George Washington, I think is going to be really, really, really good for us. A big guard, and from the New England area, and I think he's going to have an immediate impact for us. And Aaron Deloney ended up the year really well. When Robin Duncan went down with injury late in the year, Aaron got more time and knew he was going to play longer stretches and really played his best basketball at the end of the year. So I think our backcourt's going to be experienced and really versatile and big and physical and athletic. So I'm really excited about that. And then up front, really Ryan Davis had a great year, and he comes back, and he'll be much more of a focal point for us in the front court. And Isaiah Powell, we were going to redshirt him last year, so he didn't play basically most of the non-conference. And then due to some injuries and whatever, I thought it was important that he was a kind of a piece that we needed, and he was. And again, unselfish enough halfway through the year to say, yeah, I'll if you think I can help us win the championship, then, I'll pull the red shirt. And he did that. He certainly did help us. And I think, kind of always compared to Anthony Lamb because physically they kind of have the same body type. And I think he'll, but he's battled Anthony for, his first 2 years. And, I think he's going to have a breakout year also. And then we got two really good grad transfers that I'm excited about. Thomas Murphy from Northeastern, who will have 2 years as a grad transfer. And then a kid from Northern Arizona, Bernie Andre, who, I think is going to be a really, really good kind of phase four man. Again, that's an important position in our system. And our fours have, I think I've almost had an all-league four-man every year I've been here, just because it's kind of a featured position within our offense. And so I think he was newcomer of the year out west and in his league, and I think he's going to be he's going to be really, really good for us as a grad transfer. And that's one thing with all this pandemic and not being able to kind of work with the guys it looks like in the summer. Those grad transfers really need every minute you can work with them is really important to kind of get them up to speed to maximize the year. And hopefully we can start doing stuff a little bit here in the summer so we can get those grad transfers up to speed, because I think they're going to be really, really important for us.
Yeah, I think Ryan Davis also, Coach, got Sixth Man of the Year in the conference. He really was a nice player for you. And it seems like next year you have a good amount of depth. With some of the coaches I've talked to, they've said, it's really tough with the pandemic. You may not be able to get the recruits that you want. And then if you get a couple injuries, really hurt you there. But I think you have talent, you have good players coming back, and you do have depth, which I think is critical, in a sort of an unknown situation. We may start next year without fans in the stands or something. So you really need to have a strong team top to bottom.
Yeah, no, I love the depth. In fact, I think we're going to be in a position, and this is something we've been able to do. And again, I do look at sometimes at other programs, certainly Gonzaga, who's risen from the mid-major to now being a high major team, is that ability to redshirt guys, and kind of not waste years on guys that can be contributors, and that year is really important. Guys really develop, and guys when they come in, that 4 or 5 years you have them every year. You can have them anytime you can have them for another year. I think just is good for them and is good for your program. And so I think we may be in a position, if we can stay healthy and guys, play to their potential, have an opportunity to redshirt some pretty good players to kind of, stagger a little bit our talent out and kind of not waste guys' years. And so, but I agree. I do like the depth and the versatility of this team. I'm really excited about this team, and they're all great kids and huge personalities. So it's really fun to get on these Zoom calls with these guys, and it's just a good group.
Well, Coach, if you're excited, then we're certainly excited. You enter your 10th season here at Vermont. Tremendous job. Winning is infectious. Really, like we said, you are a program. You're going to be in the NCAA tournament. You're going to play great basketball, and you have players here who are passing the mantle. So really, just an outstanding job by Coach Becker here at Vermont. We appreciate a few minutes. And Coach, you're going to be in that tournament, and you're the team that these large schools see on their line and say, oh no, here we go. This is not something they want to play. And kudos to you, the coaching staff, and all the players there. Outstanding season, and we look forward to getting back to some normalcy and watching Vermont basketball next year.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the support and the coverage, and stay safe, and hopefully we can get back to normal or whatever the new normal is here as soon as possible. I'm addicted to the appetite. It's every seed in